Today we're going to take a look into one of the most innovative pieces of fitness equipment on the market today. A single machine that claims to take the place of 9 different pieces of equipment. A GHD, back extension, hamstring curl, leg extension, Nordic bench, reverse hyper, decline sit-up, hip thrust, and upper body trainer. So is Freak Athlete engineered like the holy grail of workout gear, or is this just a case of a jack of all trades is a master of none? Join me in this video as I put this ambitious machine to the test. So if you watched any of my videos, you might know that I've been a longtime user of Freak Athlete's Nordic Hyper and have been a huge fan of it. I actually even did a review of this on my channel here. But since then, Freak Athlete has launched their new and improved version of the Nordic Hyper called the Hyper Pro, and I am so excited to talk about it because it is absolutely wild. There is a lot to cover within this one machine. So to keep it simple and easy for you guys to jump to different sections that you're most interested in, here's how I'm gonna lay this video out. And feel free to skip to whatever sections you feel like are gonna benefit you the most in being able to educate yourself for a purchasing decision or just understanding what the Hyper Pro is. So I'll start off by going through some of the setup process, the specs, the design, and some of the new features of the Hyper Pro. Then for those of you guys that are already familiar with the Nordic Hyper, I'm gonna run through some of the key differences between the Nordic Hyper and the Hyper Pro. And then I will go ahead and run through each of the movements that the new Hyper Pro can do and is capable of, and I'll get my workout in today as a bonus. I'll then go over what your options are if you have the older model, the Nordic Hyper, and want to upgrade it. And then lastly, I'll talk a little bit about who the Hyper Pro is best suited for. Whew. All right, that's a lot to cover. Let's go ahead and dive in. All right, so briefly, I just want to go over what the main components are of the Hyper Pro. You have the Hyper Pro machine itself, the GHD attachment, the leg developer attachment, and upper body kit. As far as the setup goes, you guys, it's pretty easy. I'm not gonna lie. I've set up a lot of pieces of gym equipment. A lot of the Hyper Pro comes pre-assembled, which makes things really, really simple. It has all the bolts there, tools you need to attach everything. It's very simple. Will it take some time just because it's a big piece of equipment? Yes, of course. But all in all, it really shouldn't take you longer than 30 minutes probably. And then once you do assemble it, it has wheels so you can easily move it around your room and your home gym space. And the cool part is Freak Athlete makes it pretty easy with a little QR code on their card that they hand out with assembly instructions. And often they'll have like assembly videos to follow. So they make it pretty simple, especially for somebody who's like me, who really does not enjoy assembling things. It was really easy. All right, so let's talk about design and notable features of the Hyper Pro. So first off, I love that it is vertically storable, so it really takes up very little space in your home or your gym space. It has a vertical storage bar that makes it really easy to prop up vertically, so it doesn't have to lean up against anything. It can stand on its own, and again, takes very little space up. From an adjustability standpoint, this machine is very smoothly adjustable. It has a bunch of knobs and pins that make it very easy to adjust, and it's not clunky. Like, it slides very easily into place. You don't have to put like a ton of oomph into it, which is really nice. So you can just tell it's really well made. Stability wise, this machine is incredibly stable thanks to a new rear base piece that is extra stabilizing. And I'll go into more about how that applies to some of the differences between this model and the older model. But just for now, just know it's very, very stable, especially in explosive movements like doing explosive GHD sit-ups or explosive Nordics or anything like that. The padding on the Hyper Pro is also very like luxurious to the touch. It has this nice sleek matte finish, which feels very nice. And I've noticed, as somebody who's a sweaty person, it's not super slippery when I'm sweating on it, which is also great because nobody wants like that slippery kind of padding material. It's gross. Another feature I love are the foldable foot bars on this model that can fold out really easily for when you're in GHD mode and need to hop onto a higher height of the machine, and can fold up easily when you're not using them. Another thing I love are the colored knobs for adjusting. So not only is the adjustment process very smooth, but it's really easy to figure out which knob to pull for what once you kind of learn the color system, and it just, again, keeps things simple and foolproof. Another small design feature that I really appreciate about the Hyper Pro is the knurling on the foot plate grip as well as the foot bars. If you're not familiar what knurling is, it's that kind of like beveling texture on a bar grip that allows you to have like a better texturized grip on something. So again, a small design feature, but really as far as usability goes, makes a big difference. I also really appreciate on this design that there is like a handle control component for the back extension adjustment piece, so it's really easy to grip and adjust the back extension. Of course, there's the removable Nordic pad, which is a beautiful thing, so you can convert the machine from doing Nordic mode to like GHD mode, back extension mode, all the different things that you can do, which I'll get into later, all the different movements that are available on this one machine. Of course, I cannot forget to mention the adjustable back extension pads, which slide out and in for different modes. And then lastly, the quick attach feature of the leg developer attachment. They've made it super easy to attach this leg developer and just latch it on with a lever. And then there's another locking mechanism to keep it in place for leg extension. So they've really thought about a lot of things when adding in the leg developer attachment, along with all the other features that they've designed super, super well in the Hyper Pro. And you guys, I just want to take a minute to talk about the specs really quickly. So the Hyper Pro weighs in at a cool 108.2 pounds, and the GHD attachment is about 9.2 pounds, and the leg developer is about 33.9 pounds. And just some quick measurements. So it's about 60 by 22 inches when in use and 22 by 23 inches when stored vertically. All right, so now that I've gone over some of the design features of the Hyper Pro that I really love, I'm gonna go into a little bit more detail about the main differences between the Hyper Pro and the previous model, the Nordic Hyper, some of which I've already talked about when talking about some of these design features, but I wanna dig in a little bit more specifically into those. So first thing is, I mentioned the stability and how well this Hyper Pro was designed for stability. One of those reasons is because of a main difference is the rear base is built a little bit differently to add extra stability for the machine. The next main difference is the padding. On the previous model, there was kind of like a texturized padding that honestly felt like a little plasticky. And again, as somebody who's sweaty, I was sliding all over that thing. So the upgraded padding is really, really nice in comparison to the previous model. So there's kind of that matte finish. It's a little bit stickier, but still like smooth to the touch. Personally, I feel like the new padding's a lot more comfortable, and the GHD padding is a lot bigger, which makes the GHD movements all that much better. Okay, so one of my favorite new things that's on the Hyper Pro that wasn't on the previous model, the Nordic Hyper, was the ability for you to adjust a bunch of different angles and heights for GHD mode. Now, the Hyper Pro is actually the world's first height and angle adjustable GHD machine. So with the adjustability, you're able to make the movement easier from an ability standpoint, harder from an ability standpoint, and easier / like less scary for beginners, where you can adjust the machine height closer to the ground, so it's not as daunting to go down into like a glute ham raise all the way from the top. Like sometimes people, when they're trying out a new machine and a new movement and may not be familiar with that type of movement, they don't want to be super high off the ground. So the new adjustment features for the Hyper Pro allow you to adjust the height down and make it more suitable for beginners. And like I said, you can progress and regress your GHD movements too by adding incline and decline to the GHD machine. Super cool. And for reference, I believe there's 5 GHD decline modes, 5 GHD incline modes, and 6 height level adjustments. All right, so I already mentioned the fold out steps and the design features, but again, just highlighting it as a difference because that is new in the Hyper Pro versus the Nordic Hyper. The Nordic Hyper had them already out and they were not foldable. The Hyper Pro, you're able to fold those in very easily, and there's knurling on the bars, which again, makes it very easy to have better grip on the bars as you're stepping on and off the machine. Speaking of knurling, I already talked about this, but the knurling on the foot plate grip is also a new feature. So again, it just allows for extra grip as you're holding on to that back plate. Speaking of handles and grips, there's that new back extension handle, which makes it really easy to pull up and adjust down the back extension mode of the machine. Of course, the colored knobs are new, making it much easier to adjust and figure out where you're going and what position you need to move what in. And lastly, there's of course the addition of the leg developer attachment and the upper body kit, which can be put onto the Hyper Pro. Very, very cool. All right, so now that I've highlighted some of the features, the design, and the differences of the Hyper Pro versus the Nordic Hyper, I'm gonna go into all of the movements that you can do on this machine. It's kind of wild because filming these, like I legitimately get such a great workout doing the filming of these movements for these videos. Obviously I use it as part of my home workout routine, but man, like filming days, I'm feeling pretty strong. Okay, so let's get into it. Let's start with the machine in back extension mode. Again, just a feature highlight, that handle adjustment for the back extension is really, really great. Makes it easy to move that component up and down to whatever height adjustment best suits you. In this mode, you can do your 45-degree back extensions. You can go ahead and do QL raises and really easily adjust those pads and slide them in towards each other for that movement. And then of course, you can do trap 3 raises in this position as well. All right, so next let's move into GHD mode. So in GHD mode, you can of course do a 90-degree back extension, very easy. You keep the entire machine raised up. 45 degrees on the back angle, 45 degrees on the front angle, keeps it at full height. Then you can go ahead and add that GHD pad attachment. Keep the foot plate at 45 degrees, but bring the front part down to 40 degrees so you create a 5-degree differential. And then you can easily move into glute ham raises. Again, this is where you can get pretty cool with things, where you can adjust the angle, you can adjust the height, all those things for added difficulty and for different beginner levels. So the normal angle of having the back at 45 and the front at 40 is usually where I like to start. Or if I'm feeling like I'm struggling that day or extra sore, I can incline it a little bit to have the front a little bit higher than the back, which makes the movement easier. Or if I'm really wanting a challenge, I can incline the back foot plate much higher than the front and then create more of a decline to progress that movement. And like I said, you can adjust this mode closer to the ground if you're not feeling comfortable that high up. So if you just want a little bit more safety and security of being close down, being able to touch the floor easily, you can have it all the way flat, or you can raise it up to 25 degrees in the back, 20 in the front, which is kind of at medium position. So there's a lot of different varieties you can add in there. All right, so let's talk about GHD sit-ups, still in GHD mode, of course, but we're gonna flip around the other way now and work our core. So for this, I like to have, again, the foot plate at 45, the front adjusted to 40 degrees, and then you can see how much more stable the Hyper Pro is in this position, especially when I'm doing more of the explosive GHD sit-ups here. And with the new GHD pad, this movement is incredibly comfortable and supportive. And again, if you're not somebody who's comfortable being that high off the ground and doing GHD sit-ups, and maybe it's a new movement for you, you can adjust the bench down to 25 degrees in the foot plate and then 20 degrees in the front, and it makes it a little bit more approachable if that's a new movement for you. That way you're not as high off the ground. And in GHD mode, this machine easily converts into a reverse hyper by just adjusting some of the angles. So if you adjust the foot plate to 30 and then the front to 45. So for me, somebody who's 5'9", I find it comfortable to have my foot plate at around 30 degrees and the front plate at 45. But the cool thing is, since this is an adjustable GHD, is that you can adjust this to 6 different angles for shorter or taller folks. So you really can accommodate all different body sizes for this reverse hyper movement as well. All right, so let's move into Nordic mode. So of course, with a quick attachment of that Nordic bench component, which easily slides into a little slot and then you tighten it in securely, you're able to convert this just seamlessly into a full service Nordic bench that both can progress and regress the movement very, very easily. So there are 9 levels of incline in order to progress the movement to get to a flat Nordic. And then once you get to a flat Nordic, you can even decline this Nordic bench 5 levels to make it even more difficult, which that's not where I'm at. But one day when I get there, I will be very excited that I can decline my Nordic bench and actually get even more out of my Nordic curls. And again, with the new base that's on the Hyper Pro, there is no counterweight needed to stabilize. So you don't have to worry about this machine moving around at all. It stays put when you are doing any kind of explosive movement. This machine also turns into a reverse Nordic with just an adjustment of 20 degrees and you're off to doing your reverse Nordics. And of course we can use it in Nordic mode for like dumbbell pullovers and incline pigeons.
Luna, what do you think of the Hyper Pro? Do you like it?
All right, so now we're gonna adjust it to sit-up bench mode. And here you can easily do decline sit-ups, you can do Russian twists, you can do leg raises. There's any sort of decline ab movement you could possibly think of. And then you can easily move this into hip thrust mode, which you can take the back foot roller, detach it off of that back close to the foot plate, and then bring it to the front of the machine, really easily move up this hip thrust attachment, put in the foot roller, and then you can utilize that as something to lean your shoulders back on to do hip thrusts. You can even do something like Bulgarian split squats there or a couch stretch. The possibilities are endless. All right, so let's move into the leg developer attachment feature of the Hyper Pro. And I'm really excited to talk to you guys about this because the Freak Athlete team, I know, spent a ton of time developing this component that's going to be released to you guys, this finalized version. I was one of the early testers of the earlier model, and they improved it so much, and there's so many cool things that they added into this. And because they spent so much time trying to find the perfect strength curve with constant tension throughout the movement of a leg extension and hamstring curl, they literally tested like every single angle, and they found the ideal angle of 18 degrees, and were able to find that angle where you have that constant tension, and you're really maximizing the strength curve of that movement. And it's actually the first ever plate-loaded leg extension curl attachment that has that constant tension throughout the whole range of motion from start to finish. Pretty cool stuff. But aside from that, the other cool thing about this attachment is that it has a quick attach feature, which makes it really easy to put onto the Hyper Pro. So to do leg extensions with the leg developer, all you do is pull this little red lever at the bottom once you put it into place, and it attaches it right there. There's another little security lever at the top which stabilizes it, and you can load this machine pretty heavily. For example, you can load up to 250 pounds on this machine, and there's these little handles that you can insert to get extra leverage while you're sitting on the machine itself. In this clip, you can see fellow YouTuber Joe Gray utilizing this at 180 pounds, and you can see how stable the movement is. So with a quick and easy adjustment of adding in the hamstring loading bar onto the leg developer, you can easily turn this around and do hamstring curls. You just adjust the machine to a 20-degree decline to mimic a normal, hamstring curl machine when you're laying prone, and the movement feels very solid and very fluid. The other cool thing about the leg developer is that with the upper body kit, you can easily turn this into an upper body workout machine as well. You can add in movements like doing seated rows, bicep curls, single arm rows, wood choppers, face pulls, and even skull crushers. And the best part is Freak Athlete has their own upper body strap, which is fully adjustable and really, really nicely made. All right, so those are the main movements that you can do on the Hyper Pro. It's pretty wild. There is so much you can do, and as you can see, none of the movements really look janky. They didn't feel janky to me. None of them felt like I was getting a less than ideal experience. I really do feel like all of the movements mimic the same machine that I would be utilizing them separately for, like at the gym. And in some cases actually are better. Like for example, the adjustable GHD, the Nordic bench padding, like some of the movements and the feel of doing those movements on the Hyper Pro feel better than using the traditional pieces of equipment. And again, guys, this isn't a comprehensive list of all of the movements you can do on the Hyper Pro. Of course, you can get creative. I've done certainly my fair share of creative exercises on my previous model, the Nordic Hyper. But these are just kind of the main movements. It would be too much to list like all the possibilities that you could do with the Hyper Pro, but just know that it's incredibly versatile. All right, so let's talk about options to upgrade if you are a previous user of the Nordic Hyper and you have a Nordic Hyper in your home or your gym space, and you're like, hey, I have this Nordic Hyper. What am I able to do now with this new model coming out? Well, Freak Athlete really, really, really wanted to make sure that they were taking care of their customers when they made these improvements. So they actually created an upgrade kit for anybody who wants to upgrade their current Nordic Hyper. If they have one of the older models, they're able to add like the new stable rear base, the new GHD attachment, and the upgraded padding for the back extension pads and the Nordic pad. So you can easily retrofit your Nordic Hyper with the Hyper Pro upgraded features by getting this upgrade kit, which I think is really cool for a company to do, to really try to figure out how they can modify what they currently have and still make it the same quality as what they're currently coming out with. So guys, here's my final verdict and a little bit about who I think this machine might be best suited for. I really think this is an incredibly well-made machine. I think Freak Athlete did a really great job of taking customer feedback and understanding what was missing in previous models, what could be improved upon, what can make the user experience even better, and really put their best into the Hyper Pro. Even from talking to them personally, I know how much time and effort that they've put into creating this final iteration of what the machine looks like, and the final iteration of the leg developer, and all the upgraded padding and all that stuff. They really put a ton of time and energy and effort behind it to give everybody the best experience, and honestly provide a product that's going to be the best value for customers too, because to get each of these components separately would be so out of reach for most people and so expensive. I know for me that wasn't an option. So now I'm able to train half my days, if not all my days of the week if I want to, from home easily with all these machines I have as part of the Hyper Pro now. As far as it being a jack of all trades but a master of none, I would say it's actually a jack of all trades and a master of many. I don't know if I've given anything that title, but I think it truly fits for what the Hyper Pro is. I do think it's really a unicorn. So who is this machine ideally for? Well, I would say it's for someone like myself who's like an athlete or someone who's very athletic and wants to continue to utilize their body in athletic ways, prevent injuries, and really optimize their posterior chain training easily at home. It also could be for somebody who just wants to continue to build out their home gym and wants to save space while doing so and save money while doing so. Who doesn't like those things? So if you're wanting like a home gym space that is minimal equipment and multifunctional, this is another great option. And you're looking to save money, again, another great option. I would also say it's a great option for people who are owners of small gyms or personal training studios, and again, want to have a really great outcome with their clients and their customers and do some posterior strength training, because frankly, we all really need more posterior strength training because it's really great for injury prevention and all that jazz. But this would be another great one for all you folks who are small gym owners. So as I'm wrapping up, you guys, just a word to the wise. If you're new to the Hyper Pro or the Nordic Hyper, haven't used the previous model, give it some time to learn how to use it. While I wouldn't qualify it as being overcomplicated, it certainly can feel a little complicated in the beginning when you're learning how to adjust it. I would recommend taking the first week and trying to use it every single day for that first week and adjusting it to different modes and continuously doing that. It's gonna take a little practice for it to feel fluid and second nature, but truly it is like riding a bike. Once you get used to doing it, it's very easy to see it and know exactly how you need to adjust it to get it in the right mode, and it only takes you a few seconds to do. So give it some time before you're like, oh, this is so crazy and complicated, or there's too many knobs. Just give it a moment, figure it out, spend some time with it. And worst case scenario, the Freak Athlete team did a really good job of trying to educate everybody on like how to use it. So they have this little QR code on the footplate that you can scan that takes you through like a whole training library of all of the different exercises you can do, how to move it into different modes. So they've really tried to make it user-friendly, which is awesome. And if for whatever reason you do get it and you're like, yeah, this just isn't for me, I don't love it, whatever it might be, they have a 30-day money-back guarantee window, which is awesome that they offer that. So there's really no harm in giving it a shot. They also have a 2-year warranty, which is great because it's just a testament that they stand behind the products that they make. So how to order this, you can order on pre-sale right now. These will go live in October and get shipped out then, but highly recommend getting on the list so you can get yours sooner than later if this is something that you want to incorporate, through the fall and winter. I know a lot of us become less active during those months, so it can be really great to have this really dynamic piece of home gym equipment in your vicinity and be able to utilize that on the daily. All in all, another great piece of equipment by Freak Athlete. Again, you guys know on this channel I've talked about their stuff before. They really do pride themselves in creating really high quality equipment. They are a great team. They really try to get back to everybody on their questions. So highly recommend. I'm always a fan of supporting companies that really take care of their customers, and these guys are all about that. So 10 out of 10 Freak Athlete. I love, love, love the Hyper Pro, and I can't wait to see more people trying it and get your feedback down below. So what do you guys think? Would you give this a shot? Are you going to order one on pre-sale? Any hesitations you have about it? Any questions? Drop your comments down below. I'd love to hear from you guys. And guys, as always, if you liked this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. I greatly appreciate it. And if you're thinking about ordering the Hyper Pro, I have a link down in the description. It is an affiliate link, so if you want to support the channel, that is a great way to do so. That doesn't require you spending any extra money. It's just a small percentage of the sale comes to supporting this channel. As always, guys, thanks so much, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye.